Hey, what's going on, wrestling fans? The day is finally here. We have arrived at night one of WrestleMania 41, coming to you live from Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, Nevada. As always, Brian Nemeth here with Over and Buried, bringing you another edition. Just wanted to discuss my predictions for night one of WrestleMania. So first on the card, we will likely get the WWE World Heavyweight Championship between our champion Gunther versus the main event Jey Uso, winner of the Royal Rumble here in 2025. Gunther has been a champion in WWE for approximately, 80% of his time throughout his tenure in WWE. His run as Intercontinental Championship for 666 days has, cemented the legacy of that title even further and put the legitimacy back into that title, being the workhorse champion of WWE. To put that back onto the map. So what he has done to elevate the title, also, it was a foregone conclusion almost that once he dropped that Intercontinental title, he was going to go on to be the World Heavyweight Champion. So I think with that, he is a formidable opponent. Prior to recently, I haven't felt as invested with this storyline. I always kind of thought it was losing a little bit of momentum. Jay's repeated attempts to beat Gunther on, i.e. Saturday night's main event. It was just getting a little stale up until the point that, up until more recently, Gunther's viciousness, that he had attacking Jimmy Uso, smearing Jimmy's blood all over him, has really furthered this story, in my opinion. I think if it weren't for the interjection of Jimmy into this storyline, to make this so personal for Jay, for it being his twin brother, his blood, that Gunther is going after, because Gunther just thinks that Jay isn't, a top guy. He isn't a formidable opponent for himself. That, I think just how Jay has become just a different person just these last couple of weeks. It's flipped the script for me. But, Jay is locked in, I think, now. He is focused now more than ever. He's not wearing bright colors to the ring. He's not coming down, in extravagant sunglasses anymore with yeet across them. He's not yeeting with the crowd. He isn't telling them to hit his music again to yeet yet another time. So I think Jay is really locked in, and I think, Jay is going to become your new World Heavyweight Champion. Following that up, we have the WWE World Tag Team Champions between the War Raiders, the current holders of the championships, versus the New Day. So in my opinion, we do have to capitalize on this New Day heel turn here. Before 2025, who would have thought that we would have gotten certain superstars to actually turn heel? But, we're in a new age here. So I think besides Big E becoming involved in this match to some capacity, might not be physical, but just, maybe he distracts them. I don't think the War Raiders really have a chance. I do see that the New Day come out here on top as the new world champ. Up next, we have the singles match between El Grande Americano versus Rey Mysterio. This is one that honestly is a bit tricky for me. I keep going back and forth on this one. On one corner you have a Hall of Famer, the best luchador, best mask of all time in Rey Mysterio on one side, versus let's be honest, El Grande Americano, who has capitalized on his alternative ways to win, with that being a loaded mask, etc. So I certainly hope Rey Mysterio is able to actually compete in this match. Looked like he took a pretty bad bump last night on SmackDown, so hope he is medically cleared in order to compete in this match. But in the event that he isn't a go and he is pulled from the match, card subject to change as always, I would slate Rey Fenix to be put in that match. Give Rey his WrestleMania moment, probably coming a little bit sooner than we all would have thought if that were the case. But no other, formidable guy, to put, to represent luchadors in the ring with there. And that will just propel Rey Fenix to becoming more of a star than he already is. But I think at the end of the day, there is more meat on the bone here. There's more story to be told. So I do see that, in my opinion, El Grande Americano is going to win this match. It's not going to be clean. He's going to probably have some outside interference, or, just win with his loaded mask, with a headbutt from the top rope. But eventually, I think this is going to lead to a mask versus mask match that then unveils Chad Gable as the man behind the mask. If we just get Chad Gable losing here and he's revealed to be the one under the mask, I think the, story of telling him going to learn the art of, mastering Lucha Libre, was that all for nothing then at that point if we just pay it off right here? So I think there is a little bit more to the story to be told, but do truly hope that Rey is a go for tonight, seeing as, he is one of the best. So, but in this one, I do have El Grande Americano. Next, we have the U.S. title match between the champion LA Knight and the Samoan werewolf Jacob Fatu. I think there's a few different outcomes of possibilities here. If LA Knight were to be the one to retain his championship, I believe there's no shot that he wins cleanly against Jacob Fatu, especially because I believe WWE is going to strap the rocket to Jacob Fatu eventually and move him up the card significantly through 2025 into 2026. But I think Jacob losing here clean would completely just ruin his build. So the first possibility is Solo Sikoa comes down to the ring. He tries to interfere in some sort of effort in order to help Jacob, but ultimately this cost Jacob the match with him losing. And then, this will lead to the further dissension between Jacob and Solo. Eventually that we do get them colliding for their feud to come here in the near future. Second possible outcome, I think Jacob Fatu wins this one handily, which is what I am predicting. It's not going to be a full squash match, but I believe, it's going to go under 7 minutes, 5 to 7 minutes or so, that we do see Jacob coming out on top, being such a force that he is. So this brings the title back to the Bloodline, who hasn't held gold for quite some time. So, puts Jacob as kind of the top here of the family. And then I think this is what progresses the wedge between he and Solo Sikoa, that there becomes some animosity, some jealousy with Solo Sikoa, that eventually we do get that one-on-one, possibly for SummerSlam, which is now 2 nights here this year. So, official prediction, gonna put Jacob Fatu to win over LA Knight. Naomi and Jade Cargill. Yeah, this one is one of the more intriguing matches that I have on the card here. Naomi, have loved her character work, more recently with the Proceed with Caution. I think the glow aspect of her character has, we need to put that one in the past. It's needed to, be left there. We need to move forward from that. And I think this is a great opportunity WWE capitalized on here. Jade, in my opinion, she is a spectacle that the WWE Women's Division has needed. So I think it's, now just a matter of time here for Jade to really take off. I think, that Jade is in position to, win this match and have WWE push her to the moon. I think eventually it will come out that Bianca was, one who had something to do with Jade's injury as well. It's just going to be a matter of time eventually that we do finally see it unravel that Bianca was in cahoots with Naomi. She did have something to do with Jade's injury, and I think that we do eventually get that one-on-one dream match with heel EST Bianca Belair versus Jade, that imposing force, that could rival a Bianca Belair for a world championship down the line. So official prediction, Jade Cargill winning over Naomi. Then we have the WWE Women's Championship with Tiffany Stratton and Charlotte Flair. You know, this build has gotten so many more eyes on it in the recent weeks with it becoming so personal between the two of them. You know, their side-by-side interview a couple weeks on SmackDown was really lopsided, in my opinion. Basically, Charlotte buried Tiffany and exposed her for, being, as green as Tiffany is, being on the main roster for, 1 year to a year and a half, whatever time frame that she's been on the main roster here now. But, Charlotte really went to work there, and Tiffany was cooked in this feud, I thought. But, following that confrontation the week later with their in-ring, which led to the both of them going off script. I'm not sure still who was the first one to truly go off script, but, them taking shots at one another back and forth really reignited Tiffany back into this feud. But I just think ultimately with Tiffany's inexperience at WrestleMania, I think at this time, Charlotte Flair gets the best of her. It might not be a clean victory, or it might be, something as simple as a roll-up or something like that. But in a hard-fought contest, I do believe, it is going to be, two competitors with, so much athleticism going back and forth. But ultimately, I think it's Charlotte with her experience that is going to see her come out on top. And down the line, it's going to have Tiffany chasing back for that title. And for our main event, the triple threat match, arguably one of the most important triple threat matches in WWE history between Roman Reigns, CM Punk, and Seth Rollins. I believe this will be Roman's, 10th WrestleMania main event that he has been in. CM Punk, this will be his first ever main event. Seth Rollins also being no stranger to main events and having some of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history, a la the heist of the century. So could we actually see another heist take place tonight in the main event here? This time, though, could it be Paul Heyman? So who knows? But, Roman Reigns, I think he had gotten very comfortable having the wise man by his side. I don't think he ever thought that Paul Heyman would go against his tribal chief. Punk is Paul's best friend, so he's using his favor to have Heyman in Punk's own corner. That I think, now Punk is almost overlooking Seth in a sense too. Now that, he is so hyper-focused on Roman. I do think the favor could have been used for, something much greater than just Heyman being in Punk's corner. My original thought was to have this triple threat match be the match that kicked off night one of WrestleMania, and the favor being the winner of that match, potentially being inserted into the Cody versus Cena, with that, if that were to be the case, to have Punk be the one to come out on top there. But, Seth has been speaking his truth for quite some time now. He truly believes Punk is just back in WWE to tear the place down again like he was before. Looking back, Seth was never truly the guy in WWE. He's always been the one, to come second. He, is second fiddle. He is 1A. He was never, looked at as the guy in the company. So even despite him showing up every week, every show for a decade plus, putting in the work, but still, having no one truly viewing him as the face of the company, I think it's all going to boil over here for Seth. I think he purposely pulled back, stomping Paul Heyman, and telling him, now, Paul, you need to owe me a favor. I do think that Seth, we are on the brink of a heel turn here, which we have seen in the past from Seth. So I do think he is going to implore the help of Paul Heyman to close out night one, to have Paul turn on both Roman and Punk, that we do get Seth to win this match and, possibility of even him siding with The Rock and John Cena. I think there's a big possibility of that. But I think Seth is a guy who has exhausted all of his options. And I think he wants to continue his legacy as being, one of the great champions in WWE history. So I think, we're at a point now that the heel turn, we might need to, flip the switch. And I do think that Seth comes out on top here. So those are my predictions for night one of Saturday, WrestleMania 41. Tell me what you guys think. Always open for the discussion, but we're all in for a treat. Stick around for tomorrow as we post night two predictions. But super excited for WrestleMania 41 and hope everyone at home enjoys or in the crowd. So I'll see you next time in the next one. Thank you again, and thank you for the house.